Let's talk about Midnight Mass. Written and directed by Mike Flanagan, Midnight Mass is a limited series on Netflix that tells the story of an isolated island community that experiences miraculous events and frightening omens after the arrival of a charismatic, mysterious young priest. The series stars Zach Gilford, Kate Siegel, Hamish Linklater, Samantha Sloyan, and Annabeth Gish. I always had a thing for stories like this, where it's like this confined area, in this case an island, where all the players, all the people, you get to know everybody and you get to know, the way that things work and all that, but it's very confined and you're sort of separated from the outside world. I've always loved those kinds of stories. If I had to summarize what this series is like, it's basically a ton of metaphysical, religious, existential conversations wrapped in a little horror story reminiscent of something from Stephen King. I mean, that's exactly what it feels like. Mike Flanagan has done some amazing work in the past. Of course, Haunting of Hill House, an amazing series. And of course, Dr. Sleep, which was one of my favorite movies, in a long time. I mean, he's one of those directors that does it. When he does it well, it's amazing. To me, this one was a little off the mark. There's a lot of preaching in this series, and not just from the religious types. It's kind of like Mike Flanagan said, I want to get my views out there. I want to put this in a story that people can understand and relate to and all this stuff, but we're going to have some really, really deep conversations here. And the only problem is that whether it's religious or sciencey kind of stuff that he's talking about, it just gets way overbearing, at least for me. You can obviously tell that this is sort of reminiscent of a Stephen King story. I mean, it has sort of a lot of the hallmarks that a Stephen King story has. A really well-drawn characters, an amazing, amazing setup. Unfortunately, he kind of borrows from Stephen King in that he doesn't really stick the landing. Now, I'm not getting into spoilers yet. That's coming in a minute. But one of my biggest pet peeves in any kind of series, movie, whatever, is when characters that you think they shouldn't be stupid. And they shouldn't do stupid things. Unfortunately, every side does stupid things that just, it confuses me. And I don't understand why they had to do dumb things. It's hard for me to recommend it just simply because there's gonna be people that are just offended for one reason or another. I mean, there's gonna be religious people that are offended, and I would think that pregnant women would probably be. I mean, some of them, if they're watching it and being pregnant, there's probably some stuff that's wow. It's a lot, But for the most part, I think that there's going to be a lot of people that kind of dig this story and they dig how things play out. Me, unfortunately, it didn't work completely for me, but I'm still going to have to give it, I would say like 2 3/4 stars, at least for me. Now, I will say that if you're into these just watch the trailer. Watch the trailer, and if the trailer interests you, I'd say go for it. I think you'll probably enjoy it. But some people might have the same issues that I did. I'll also say that if you don't know much about how the story plays out, don't go looking. Don't go looking any further. I went into this super cold, so I didn't know exactly what was going on. I saw the poster, I saw the trailer, I said, sure. If you saw the trailer and you don't know anything else, just keep it that way. Watch the show and let it play out. So now we're going to get into spoilerific territory. So if you haven't seen it and you actually want to see it, you might want to turn away at this point because yeah, it's spoilers. So, when Riley gets bitten and then dies, I felt the story and the heart of the whole series just deflate for me. I think Flanagan made that choice because it was a shocking revelation, right? It was a shocking thing to happen. You take your the main character that you're following all the way through it, and then you kill him off roughly halfway through the series. That's shocking. And it worked. It just didn't work in the way that the remaining actors, they weren't nearly as interesting. So I felt that I didn't have a whole lot of motivation to finish it. Now I did finish it, by the way. I don't want to say that I didn't finish it, but I felt that the series, now I didn't want to lead you down a path by saying what Stephen King story it reminded me of, just in case. Cycle of the Werewolf. It's a priest that turns into a werewolf. And it's kind of an interesting story. But there was a lot of similarities here to me. There's a part toward the end where, Riley is dead and he's left letters for his parents and his brother and for Father Pruitt, who is Father Paul. Of course, Ed doesn't know that, right? Riley's dad doesn't know that. Or at least I thought so. See, what I was hoping was that Riley had explained everything to his parents and that they believed him and they were going to try to trick Father Pruitt. I was expecting that switcheroo to happen, right? When I saw this scene play out, I was thinking he's going to trick him and they're going to get him. And that's what I was hoping, is that maybe, eventually maybe his parents will believe him. And they didn't. And that irritated me because it felt like, so you're telling me he never ever believed his son? Wow. This may be a subjective thing. This may be something that some people would go, oh, come on. Really? Rob, what exactly did you want? I wanted more. Okay. So when the mass changeover takes place, right? And everybody starts turning into, they start dying and then they wake up and then they start feeding, right? The whole vampire thing in the church. I wanted more. I wanted it to be carnage. I wanted it to be like, holy crap, this is insane. And that didn't really happen. It seemed like that's what it was building toward. There was actually like a bit of suspense there where you can feel it, and that, like, you're just like, oh, what's going to happen? And then what happened was kind of like, oh, I mean, that was okay. Like, really? That was it? Now, I mentioned stupid things. Okay. And we're talking about both sides, right? The vampire people and the regular people. Number one, why didn't the people that didn't turn, why didn't they wait until dawn to burn down the church and the rec center? Yeah, all you had to do was stay alive. And apparently you were pretty good at that all the way up until that point, until you start dumping gas on the places with the vampires all around. Why? That doesn't make any sense. It irritated me. It irritated me a lot. And then the vampires. You're telling me that these vampires aren't smart enough to know that, oh, you know what? These two places are very vulnerable. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't burn down the entire town. One of the biggest problems was the final philosophy lesson sort of crammed down our throats at the end by Kate Siegel's character. She basically says, I am everything. And it's supposed to be this very uplifting thing, right? And it's supposed to be, oh, it's so deep. And I don't know. It just felt too egocentric for me. And it felt like this is supposed to be the final word. And it felt really, I don't know, just, it didn't work for me. Now, look, if we're going to have philosophical conversations, I mean, because we can do that, we can totally do that. But it felt way out of place, and it felt like Mike Flanagan himself was preaching. And when you can tell it's preaching, sometimes it's a little off-putting. Sometimes people just want to watch a show and have some fun. It just felt like it was shoot in. And yeah, that's probably my biggest issue with it, is that it seemed half-baked. So, Midnight Mass. Have you seen it? Hopefully you have seen it, because I've been talking about spoilers for the last few minutes. But yeah, I'm curious about what everybody else thinks about it, because I mean, I enjoyed it up until the point where, like I said, the main character dies. That's a bummer, and it felt like the whole show lost its heart. So I'm kind of curious what everybody else thinks of that. So, and I also want to say thank you very much to all of the new subscribers. It was quite a shock, waking up and seeing, like, for me, a lot of new people here, a lot of new numbers. It's really cool. It's really cool that you're here, and I appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. So thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.